His Holiness the Dalai Lama's name appears in the Epstein file, and the media and people are losing their minds. So I spent days going through every file that mentioned the Dalai Lama, every email, message, and footnotes. And here's what I found. Not a single email or message written to, from, or by the Dalai Lama or his office. No flight logs, no black book entries, no victim testimony, no allegation of wrongdoing, nothing. But I did find some new and mind-blowing information that nobody is talking about. Before I go any further, let me be clear. The Epstein files are 3 million pages of horror which involves real harm, real survivors, real predators. It's sickening, outrageous, evil, and traumatizing. I will never minimize or soften that. Survivors deserve to be believed, protected, and finally given real justice. The people who hurt them and enabled it should be named, prosecuted, and held accountable, and not hidden behind bars of redacted names. But I will not let a child predator's paper trail be used as a weapon against an innocent person, especially not against His Holiness the Dalai Lama, whose name has been wrongly targeted and politicized for decades. These files also show how Epstein's circle operated. They forwarded headlines and dropped names to look connected, to look clean, to borrow credibility. Pikachu is mentioned, Spider-Man, Mother Teresa, even King Kong. That is how meaningless a mention can be. This is a full explanation of why and how the Dalai Lama's name is mentioned 169 times in these files, and also who's pushing these narratives. So please watch till the end. There are 10 key emails that mention the Dalai Lama's name. So let's break them down. Starting with the email that launched 1,000 headlines because of this line: the event on island that Dalai Lama is coming. Sounds sinister, right? A secret island, a meeting with Epstein, but that's the clickbait version. We will read what was written in the entire thread. October 21st, 2012, 10:55 a.m. A person writes, it has some disgusting stuff but let's go to the last sentence. I wish I could come today, but could I see you tomorrow after school, please? Going now to the event with Dalai Lama, then birthday dinner. 11:12 a.m. Epstein responds, you don't ask if I need help. I told you yesterday I was home. I'm very angry. I am very, very angry. Talk to you later in week. 11:31 a.m. the person replies and apologizes for not checking their email and writes, the event I told you almost a month ago on island that Dalai Lama is coming and I want to go there to see him. But I can skip this event if you need help today. Now, I will read that sentence again with proper grammar and punctuation because the copywriter in me just can't allow sloppy wording and grammar to do the talking. The event that I told you almost a month ago on the island, comma, that the Dalai Lama is coming and I wanted to go there to see him. Now, this was a response to an angry Epstein message. It had nothing to do with the Dalai Lama except for referring him, a third-party mention. This person is not arranging a meeting, not brokering access, but simply asking their angry boss for permission and reminding him about something this person had already mentioned a month ago on the island about attending a public event. The same way there are other email mentions of attending a Taylor Swift or a Springsteen concert. Epstein responds, I did call, go to the event, this is bullshit. So what was this event on October 21st, 2012? That was the 25th Mind and Life Dialogue at Lincoln Center in New York with His Holiness and thousands of people in the audience. The person who wrote that email could be anyone in that crowd. So this is the smoking gun? The email that launched so many headlines and articles? To me, it sounds more like a drama and a calendar conflict, and Epstein does not care that the Dalai Lama is mentioned. It was irrelevant to him in this conversation. He was angry with this person about something totally unrelated. And somehow the internet and the media turned this into Dalai Lama meets Epstein. That is not reporting. That is disinformation. Now, I know some of you are still thinking, okay, but what if the Dalai Lama really was on that island that day? Well, fair enough. Let's check the one thing that would settle this. Epstein's flight log for October 21st. Where is the Dalai Lama's name? It's not there because the Dalai Lama was in Lincoln Center in front of thousands of people doing exactly what he has done his entire life, teaching. And that was mention number 1. We will go through all the 10 emails that mention the Dalai Lama. If there's something damning in those files, I want you to see it with your own eyes. Okay, then. October 2014, Yosha Bach, an AI strategist who previously had received over $1 million from Epstein, is asked by Epstein to make a phone call. Bach responds that currently giving a presentation at MIT, will be free in about 30 minutes until 12 when the Dalai Lama comes. Will this work? He wrote that while he was presenting using the Dalai Lama's session start time like a calendar marker. The Dalai Lama isn't part of this conversation. He is a background noise, and that was mention number 2. February 2015, a Vanity Fair journalist named David Lopez emails Epstein wanting to interview Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. To build his credibility, David's email mentions his past interviews, one of which happens to be the Dalai Lama. So this email was a simple resume pitch from a journalist. Epstein and his circles don't engage with the Dalai Lama reference at all. They just make fun of David's English. Epstein writes, he is Spanish, what do you expect? They didn't care about the Dalai Lama because they were too busy being racist, and that is mention number 3. 3 mentions down, all name drops, third-party reference, but the next few emails will reveal something far more important, a pattern from Epstein towards the Dalai Lama spanning for years. Now we meet a key player in these emails, Gio Ito, the former director of MIT Media Lab. In 2019, Ito resigned in disgrace after it was revealed he had taken over $1.2 million from Epstein. Ito is the man putting the Dalai Lama's name in these files. On May 10th, 2015, Epstein writes to Ito, fun dinner would be Dalai Lama, Woody Allen, Chomsky. Let's do it. It's like he's assembling a vision board. This is not a plan. It is a fantasy. This dinner fantasy with Woody Allen and the Dalai Lama keeps resurfacing in other emails, and it's so absurdly specific and weirdly fanboying. Ito responds, yes, first step would be to meet Tenzing. And he ends with, I think you'll probably like him. He can get us the Dalai Lama. Get us. Not confirm with, not check the schedule. Get us the Dalai Lama like an item on a shopping list. Now, who is Tenzing? His full name is Tenzing Priyadarshi, the president of the Dalai Lama Center for Ethics in MIT. This wasn't access for Epstein. It wasn't even a starting line. At best, he was being pointed towards someone who could contact the Dalai Lama's office, and that was mention number 4. The very next day, May 11, 2015, Epstein emails Sumki Previn, Woody Allen's daughter wife. I'm working on the Dalai Lama for dinner. Working on the Dalai Lama. Let that language sit for a second. He's not confirming dinner. He's not relaying a message from the Dalai Lama's office. He's working on it because he has no way to contact His Holiness. None. There is an email from 2011 that I will show you later that explains why Epstein could never contact the Dalai Lama's office himself. So far, this is Epstein's chain of access to the Dalai Lama, which was literally established a day before. Epstein relies on Joy Ito, who relies on Tenzing Priyadarshi, who has not yet agreed to anything. So Epstein is 2 people removed from the Dalai Lama, and he's here bragging to Woody Allen's daughter wife like he is closing a deal. That is what predators do. Smoke and mirrors. They perform proximity designed to impress, designed to make them look connected. Well, follow along for this dinner plan, and that was mention number 5. On May 15, 2015, Lawrence Krauss, the physicist, sends Epstein his wish list. He calls it game theory. This email chain follows the 2 of them discussing how some people in their group receive social pleasure and others only physical pleasure. I'll let you sit with that. Krauss also wants Epstein to entice Jane Goodall with a dialogue and, his words, pay for her probably largest fee. He's asking a child trafficker to buy him access to a primatologist. His other ask, We are thinking of doing a dialogue with the Dalai Lama. Would you be willing to ask him if he would be willing to do it with me before 3,000 people on stage? Would you be willing to fly him? Would you be willing to ask him? He's not asking the Dalai Lama. He's asking Epstein to ask someone, you know, the whole access chain, the fantasy. Krauss also has a question. Is dinner with Woody and Dalai Lama on May 19th fixed? See, another person obsessed with the Dalai Lama and Woody Allen eating together. So what happened on May 19th? Well, let's go check His Holiness the Dalai Lama's official schedule for May 19th, 2015. Just so you know, all his schedules are online and public. Well, he looks like he was at his residence in Dharamsala, India, meditating, praying, taking his walks, 9,000 miles away from Woody Allen's dinner table. The dinner was never fixed, and it never happened. And that was mention number 6. July 7, 2015, Tom Pritzker of the Pritzker Foundation, chairman of the Hyatt Hotels, etc., emails Epstein about going to see the Dalai Lama for lunch. His Holiness was at the University of California for the Global Compassion Summit, a day after his 80th birthday. At this point, I'm sure you will not be surprised reading this request from Epstein. Would you find it amusing to have Dalai Lama, Woody Allen for lunch on Saturday? Could be memorable. Pritzker responds in 3 words, can't do it. That man shut it down. No reasons given, no negotiations, just no. Pritzker wanted nothing to do with this. In fact, he was blocking it as he was headed to a Dalai Lama event. Did you notice how Epstein keeps pestering people around him for an introduction, and even they keep shutting him down? And that is mention number 7. 7 mentions, 7 failures, 3 more mentions, and then the part why Epstein could never contact the Dalai Lama's office directly. It's March 17, 2016, almost a year later. Joy Ito emails Epstein. Thank you. It was fun watching you talk to Tenzing. Next stop, the Dalai Lama. Next stop, the Dalai Lama. Epstein finally just meets Tenzing Priyadarshi, and they are celebrating like they cleared round 1. This meeting was probably at MIT since Epstein frequently visited till the staff there complained. There is a whole series of emails and messages between Epstein, Joy, and Priyadarshi. They were meeting till 2016 or communicating. There's enough content to make a separate video about land, money, deal brokering, and the Priyadarshi founded organization, Prajnopaya Institution. We'll see. But it's been almost a year of Epstein trying to broker a meeting with the Dalai Lama, and he's not even in the waiting room. He was even dangling Woody Allen as a front like that could unlock anything. See, Epstein owned islands, private jets, yachts, mansions, and billions of dollars. He had direct contact with presidents, prime ministers, and royalty, but still could not get a 30-second meeting with a simple monk in Dharamsala, and that was mention number 8. November 27th, 2017, a person writes, tomorrow to Synergy Forum, hope to see Dalai Lama there. Hope to see, not meeting with, not confirmed, hoping to catch a glimpse of the Dalai Lama at a forum. These people are so stained by what they have done that they orbit spiritual leaders like moths around a flame, hoping that proximity to purity might somehow cleanse them. It never will. So, did this person get to see the Dalai Lama next day on November 28th? No, because the Synergy Global Forum was held almost a month earlier. This person was either confused or straight up lying. In late October, when the forum actually took place, the Dalai Lama was at Mayo Clinic in Minnesota for his routine checkups. His doctors advised him to cancel his US tour and return to Dharamsala to rest. Also, the Synergy Forum was never a part of his schedule. And by November 28th, His Holiness was in Dharamsala convening the annual meeting of Tibetan religious heads. So it was the wrong event, wrong date, wrong continent, and that was mention number 9. December 27th, 2017, Dan Ariely, a professor at Duke, writes to Epstein. For example, I would love to go to an interesting monastery, maybe with a Dalai Lama. Maybe a Dalai Lama. Like there is a catalog. And he's treating the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism, a Nobel Peace Laureate, like a tour guide you can add to a monastery vacation package. These are the weight of these mentions, and that was mention number 10. And now the email I told you about, the one from 2011 that explains everything. This exchange comes before all of it, before Ito, before Cross, before the Woody Allen dinner fantasy, before nearly a year of chasing Tenzing. This is the email that shut him out of the Dalai Lama's proximity, his office, and even a seat at a public teaching, because if he had gone to any of Dalai Lama's teaching, he would have been bragging about it. Well, it was March 14, 2011. Epstein wrote to Tom White, the billionaire founder of Gateway Computers. Subject line, His Holiness. Epstein, is there any way to get His Holiness to come? I will pay for everything. Just tell me what it takes. I am desperate to have him here. Desperate. A convicted sex offender, desperate for proximity to the Dalai Lama, not because he cared about compassion or enlightenment, but because he needed credibility. Tom White responds, Jeffrey, it's not about the money. His schedule is set years in advance and managed by a very tight circle. I can pass a message, but I can't make any promises. They are very particular about the venues and the associations. The venues, the associations. That's the Dalai Lama's office through Wyatt telling Epstein, we vet who we associate with, and you are not getting anywhere near us. Epstein writes back, I understand the optics, but this is for the Science Foundation. It's about the intersection of consciousness and physics. He would find the group extraordinary. I'll fly the whole entourage, whatever they need. I understand the optics. That tells you that Epstein knew exactly why he could never get near the Dalai Lama, even in 2011. Remember, and that's why he was fronting Woody Allen. And of course, now you know why Epstein never contacted the Dalai Lama's office directly. He was flagged, screened out, and kept at arm's length. Even the people around him wanted no part of making that meeting happen except for Ito. Epstein bought his way into the White House, into Ivy League colleges, dined with royalty, presidents and famous scholars and celebrities. He opened doors that should have stayed locked to a monster like him. But His Holiness's door never opened. Not for money, not for connection, not through middlemen, not through flattery. Now, this did not happen by accident. It happened because the people in the Dalai Lama's private office did their job with discipline, faith, and backbone. So to them, Tojiche. Here's something I've been tracking. Now, this could be not important or something completely different, but in this email, Epstein calls the Dalai Lama His Holiness. And probably the last time, because if you go through the other emails, he calls him the Dalai Lama. And the D and L are not even caps. I think he really got burned. I think that was his way of showing disrespect to the Dalai Lama. Just like all their names, I refuse to capitalize them.
I'm petty. Yeah, I'm petty.
And on February 8, 2026, the office of the Dalai Lama released this statement confirming that His Holiness has never met Jeffrey Epstein or authorized any meeting or interaction with him or anyone on His Holiness's behalf. That is not a spin. That is a seal from Dharamsala confirming what the emails already show. Now, let that satisfying truth sink in a little bit. And then there is Deepak Chopra. He mocked the Dalai Lama to Epstein, brushed off Buddhism, and tried to sound edgy with this disgusting line about God and cute. I broke that down in a full video 2 days ago. Please watch it after this. Now for the 169 mentions. The actual count is 154. But the number still sounds rather huge until you understand the mechanism and how the math works. So the 10 emails, some with 2 to 3 mentions within, were replicated and each counted to about 5 to 10 times across every reply, forwards, and attachments. And the rest are exactly what you would expect in their inboxes. Recycled headlines and news clips that mention the Dalai Lama. I invite you to go to the DOJ site to look it all up. One more thing, and this matters. 6 months ago, Michael Wolff, a disgraced journalist banned from all credible reporting, pushed a false report claiming he saw the Dalai Lama and Epstein meet. I will show his clip, but do not watch it for the vibes. Watch Wolff carefully.
You met the Dalai Lama at Jeffrey Epstein's?
Yes, the list goes on. I mean, the list is extraordinary.
Did you actually meet the Dalai Lama at Jeffrey Epstein's?
Indeed.
Whoa, I don't think I knew that.
And it's a.
I don't know why I'm laughing, it's just so surprising.
Did you see it? The pauses, the pivots, the careful words that dodges anything checkable. No dates, location, proof, paper trails, nothing. Now, body language is not a lie detector, but it does show the gap between recalling a fact and selling a story. Even the interviewer looks unconvinced. And he just happens to be the only witness on the planet. In Epstein's world, we now know a claim like that would leave a deep trail and bragging rights. Notice where it ran: the Daily Beast, a tabloid, and nowhere credible. Because this is not reporting, this is clout laundering, lying and dragging the Dalai Lama's name into filth to juice up his story and make himself the center, the headline. Now, if you're still here, thank you. That tells me you're not here for the headlines and the gossips. You're here for the truth and the survivors. Now, here's the trillion-dollar question. Why the Dalai Lama? Epstein allegedly kept a framed photo of Pope John Paul II on his desk. And in those files, the Pope and Jesus are mentioned over 900 times, alongside countless other innocent names swept into a predator's paper trail. So why is the Dalai Lama being singled out? Because in this case, Epstein is just a camouflage and a cover story. The real operation is using the Dalai Lama's name as a weapon, turning a predator's files into a smear campaign. And yes, I'm going to show you exactly who's driving it and why. But first, you need to understand what's at stake in occupied Tibet. For more than 70 years, Tibet has lived under brutal Chinese occupation. Tibetans inside occupied Tibet face constant surveillance, political imprisonment, and harsh restrictions on language and religion. In many cases, even showing devotion to the Dalai Lama can bring severe punishment up to death. His Holiness was forced into exile at just 23. Since then, he has watched 6,000 ancient monasteries destroyed, over 1.5 Tibetans killed by China, and 168 Tibetans set their bodies on fire, crying out for freedom. Today, around 1 million Tibetan children, some as young as 4, are being taken from their families into state-run boarding schools designed to strip them of culture, language, and identity. Tibet remains one of the least free countries on earth. For decades, the Chinese government has run one of the most sophisticated disinformation machines on earth. Trolls, paid media, AI, and so-called influencers weaponizing the internet at global scale to target the Dalai Lama, the Tibetan people, and the movement. And this latest attempt to malign him works the same way as it always does: fast, coordinated, and designed to make a lie travel faster than the truth. The very first outlet to push the imaginary 169 times with a fake clickbait headline, "Dalai Lama met with Jeffrey Epstein," was RT, Russia Today, a Russian state media, and within hours, CGTN and ECNS, Chinese state media, amplified it across every platform, followed by their lapdog influencers, paid media, and bots. So why did they coordinate these actions? On February 1st, His Holiness the Dalai Lama received his first Grammy Award. And that award sits along 120 of the world's highest honors, from the Nobel Peace Prize to the Congressional Gold Medal to the Templeton Prize, making him the only person in human history with these awards that truly reflect a life spent serving others. He has donated the proceeds from these awards and his speaking engagement to charitable causes across the world. Now, hours after the Grammy announcement, China's foreign ministry immediately called it an anti-China political manipulation. Ridiculous, ridiculous. Russia Today, a state-run outlet, dropped that headline almost immediately after. Like clockwork. RT has been functioning as a megaphone into English-speaking audiences for China. Since they opened the floodgate, I did more digging. RT smeared President Zelensky by implying trafficking links based on nothing more than mentions with no proof or documentation. But they remained silent about Epstein's co-conspirator Maria Drokova, silent about Epstein's repeated attempts to reach Putin, silent about Russian survivors reportedly recruited through modeling pipelines. And the same with China. They are dead silent about Epstein trying to contact Xi Jinping through Andrew. Silent about Wang Qishao and Li Yangchao, who are the top officials of CCP who met Epstein with their inner circles. Silent about arms trafficking allegation involving China and North Korea. Silent about Chinese survivors recruited through agencies. And here's the audacity. Chinese state media claims Xi Jinping has zero mention in these files. The reality is the Dalai Lama appears on 16 pages and Xi Jinping is in 111 pages. But here's what matters. Neither of them ever met Epstein. A truth is a truth, even when it's about the enemy. But China stayed locked on one goal only, pushing the lie about the Dalai Lama meeting Epstein, because they understand something the internet and the media keeps forgetting. A smear moves faster than context. A pattern so predictable from the authoritarian playbook, it could be boring if it wasn't so dangerous. Folks, there is no secret Dalai Lama. The man you see is the man he is. A simple monk who lived in the eyes of the world for nearly 90 years. A life of vows and discipline, a pure monastic life of celibacy, preaching and practicing compassion, nonviolence, and harmony. He has no assets, no bank account. His country was stolen from him. And let's be honest, if there was anything damning about him, China would have used it decades ago. They track him like a shadow, every meeting, every handshake, every word. And if there was a shred of real evidence in these files, Xi Jinping himself would have announced it before breakfast. Now, if you care about survivors, care about accuracy, false accusations don't create justice. They create noise and confusion and disruption, which gives the real predators time to take cover, to feel empowered, to roam around freely. So before you share those headlines or play judge, jury, and executioner, ask yourself, who benefits from destroying the Dalai Lama's reputation and legacy? Not justice, not the survivors. Only a bloody totalitarian regime that has spent 7 decades trying to erase Tibet and silence its spiritual leader. So please, don't be China's puppet. Don't be their weapon. And to every survivor the system abandoned, we see you and believe you. You deserve real names, not redactions. Real accountability, not a circus. The Buddha teaches 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Your truth will reach the light. Every name, every crime, every cover-up. And when it does, it will not just expose the predators and the enablers, it will shatter the system and break the machine that protects them. Because evil only works in darkness, and you all are the brightest and the most beautiful lights. We stand with you. Tashi Delay, and long live His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet.